politics. Rosie's here with that issue.
Oh, Rosie's here.
At issue this week, the debate over Alberta's gender policies lands on Parliament Hill after days of questions. Pierre Poilievre weighs in.
I think we should protect children, let them make adult decisions when they become adults.
So that you are against puberty blockers for kids under the age of 18. Is that
Yes.
clear? Okay.
So what to make of Poilievre's response to the policy and to the media?
Digging
when
yourself
pressed.
a hole with that
Hi
one,
there,
bud.
I'm Rosemary Barton here to break it all down on At Issue tonight. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Rush. Good to see you all. So this answer from Poilievre came after multiple attempts, I should say, by journalists to get him to weigh in on the issue. We can talk about his response to reporters in scrums, but let's start with where he came down and what he did, what he was willing to say about where he stands on the policy and what that tells us, I guess, about the Conservative Party's position on this. Chantal, do you want to start us off?
You said weighed in. It looked to me like he was the guy on the beach who put his toe in the water and decided it was a bit too cold, and went back to the beach. It's clearly not a conversation that he wants to have, and not one that he wants to be a big part of, and with good reason. You saw it this week, even within the Conservative movement in the larger sense. Premier Smith is in one place, as are others, but Premier Ford is not. I don't think this debate would do any good to
Premier Ford doesn't do
in Quebec. So I think
culture war.
he's really trying to walk a very fine line. I'm not sure that it's not a lose-lose.
Ask
line,
Lise.
whatever he says.
Lise's answer would probably be
it's
much
not-
different.
It is also something that
Right?
is,
'Cause Lise is an
discussed inside
ideologue.
the federal party, Andrew. It's not
Ford
like this
is
coming
a-
only because
just a
Alberta's
corrupt,
done this. The
you know,
Conservative delegates
buffoon.
voted in favor of some policies on gender identity, and so those have also been put forward to Pierre Poilievre as the leader.
Yes, but as Chantal says, he does not want to get out in front of this. This is not the only issue in which he's kind of waited until there was some clearing of the way for him, first of all. So on immigration, for example, he was among the last really to get out and say we need to reduce the numbers or what have you. There had been a sort of a bubbling up of sentiment on that. And similarly on this, there had been commentators saying, well, actually, we look at Danielle Smith's reform, we don't think they're way over the top. Now, lots of other people do find them over the top, but the point is there was space made for him on the right of the spectrum to say something. But even then, I think if you watch that press conference or that scrum, it's basically dragged out of him. He's not eager to comment on it.
No, and I should say today he was asked other questions and said, please see my comments from yesterday, because he didn't want to go down that road again.
And in fairness to him, a lot of this, I mean, his mantra on a lot of these things is let the provinces decide.
Yes, it is.
A lot of this is provincial jurisdiction. Doesn't mean federal politicians can't comment on it, but.
No, and it doesn't mean that his own party members don't have beliefs around it. And I wonder whether that causes a problem for him, Althea. The fact that there are people in the party who might want him to speak more forcefully and openly about his views on this.
Well, he can't adopt a policy publicly that goes against what the membership voted. I mean, he did not leave that space open in September, and this was wildly popular. His comments this week reflect where the party membership is. I think he was hoping that he might be able to use what happened last week, Danielle Smith's announcement, to harm the Liberals with this. He tried to kind of bait reporters outside of Ottawa, where they're only allowed to ask one question, they're not allowed to ask a follow-up question, trying to get them to talk about the restrictions. He lied, straight up lied, and said that they were misrepresenting what had happened. That wasn't actually true. But most of those reporters couldn't actually explain what Danielle Smith had announced, and he didn't give them space to do that. So he very easily swatted those questions. And then when he was given the chance in Ottawa, where reporters are engaging in follow-up questions, it wasn't even clear what his policy stance was. He kept repeating that he wanted to ensure that children have the right to make adult decisions when they are adults. And then he talked about irreversible changes, where puberty blockers are not irreversible. Perhaps he was thinking about hormonal therapy. So reporters were trying to get a clear answer, and it wasn't necessarily clear what Mr. Poilievre was saying. Truthfully, I'm not even sure that Mr. Poilievre fully has a fleshed out position that he himself understands, because he's a very clear talker when he wants to be.
He was
but
trying
he's
to. He was
choosing
just trying to
not be.
dog whistle his
And
base,
what is
basically.
interesting
Which at the very
is that
same
he's trying
time.
to take an issue on which he's playing defense, because it kind of brings up this idea of, you know, conservative secret agenda, and he's turning it into an offensive play, where if at first he's attacking reporters, now he's attacking the Prime Minister, trying to paint this as if it's Justin Trudeau who put this issue on the agenda, and it is not.
Chantal wants in.
Whew.
I suspect that Pierre Poilievre, like us, did not expect to have to be discussing puberty blockers as part of a big political debate. And if he doesn't really know what he's talking about, nor are the journalists who are asking him the questions.
Yes.
And that kind of illustrates the point that why are premiers suddenly deciding that they know better than the medical profession when puberty blockers are in place. It's a vivid illustration of a place where the state has no place,
Amen.
including
Hear, hear.
in the provinces. But that being said,
Hear.
with Althea on the secret agenda stuff, it has hurt and never helped the Conservatives in the past federally. The notion that there is some secret agenda. So I totally expect him to continue to say, I've already said whatever I have to say about this.
Yeah, but,
Yeah,
but,
that's-
but lashing out when you get these.
Let me
kinds
just
of-
say one thing. So what's happening here is like all that Pierre can do is dog whistle to his base because he's a further right person in a more progressive conservative group of politicians besides basically Alberta. There's, for the most part, they don't want to go there because they know that that's a hill that they will die on, right? So they would rather dog whistle. And every time that they dog whistle, it then makes the Liberals say, aha, you see, we got you. And then that makes it so that people who are left of Liberal are like, oh, I can't believe this. This is like, I can't believe this, people. We have to vote to stop them, or else, they'll do the same thing that they're doing in Alberta, nationally. And so it's this negative feedback thing that he does because it's the only thing he knows what to do is to appeal to his far right, bigot base. And then in doing that, it makes the centrist Liberals be propped up as the lesser evil by the actual people who are the victim of this shit. You see? And that's the cycle of how this works. So it will only benefit the status quo. That's how this works.
Questions. I don't know if that's the best approach either, because if you want to be Prime Minister, you do have to explain your positions on issues. That is sort of fundamental to the job, I think. I don't know.
Well,
I have not noticed that it has hurt the Conservatives or Mr. Poilievre to be lashing out at journalists.
Fair enough.
And I, frankly, as a journalist, don't give a damn that he's lashing out at me.
Yeah, but
Andrew.
there's a reason why the Liberals have jumped all over this, of course,
Yeah.
which is it will make him uncomfortable. So he's on actually solid ground in saying, yeah, Justin Trudeau didn't launch this issue, but he's certainly jumping in with both feet on it, and he is trying to use it as a wedge issue. I would only note the contrast between the alacrity with which the Liberals get involved in this issue of provincial rights and looking after minorities, et cetera, and the contrast with their behavior on Bill 21 in Quebec. So on some issues,
Or
it's all a matter of standing up for what's right. On some matters, it's a matter of keeping your mouth shut.
100%.
Or it takes you 3 years to get there. I do have a problem
Or the
with
Ford
lashing
bill.
out against reporters. I will say I worry about what will happen in the next election, because Mr. Poilievre has very astutely recognized that these press conferences that used to happen behind closed doors, where we would ask all types of questions, some of them were loaded, some of them were not, but they were designed to get an answer, and then that answer would be a clip in our news report that evening, or in our story, or in a column. But now they are a show, and we figure as actors in Mr. Poilievre's show where he can use us as punching bags. And we are not truthfully trained for this. We have a certain set of ethics. We ask the leader of the official opposition's office all sorts of questions. We never, in fact, write a lot of stories about the questions that we ask. Sometimes we chase down an idea, it turns into a story. Sometimes we realize after we've collected our facts that there is no story there. Yeah. But Mr. Poilievre wants to use us for his own purposes, and now that, you know, we do not control the television stations, people can get their news from wherever, it has changed the nature of the game, and I think that we are not, we haven't, the mainstream media hasn't really adjusted to that yet.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure we need to worry too much about that.
Okay, hang on. Chantal, then quickly, Andrew. Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember the Friday Pierre Trudeau news conferences. So the notion that a politician in office uses journalists as punching bag is not new.
No, not new to me either. No.
Just go see the tapes if you really want to see it.
Yeah. Andrew. Yeah, I don't think Althea said it's new. It said it's being used differently.
Like there was dialogue from what, I mean, I wasn't there when I was, okay, but you were there, I was not, I wasn't.
Hey, last word to Andrew.
I think
it's true, but it's the difference between
liberal
populism versus conservative populism.
Responsibility, evading accountability. It's one thing to wind up your base. It's another thing to attract voters in a general election with that kind of tactic.
Because like what Chantal is talking about is coming at Pierre Trudeau from the right? So then it's seen as he's a charismatic person the same way that other people see Poilievre, right? Like it's if someone is more left of center, the journalists are going to come in from the right? And so when he talks back to them, it's going to seem like noble. But if someone on the conservative side, right, is talking back to, you know, people who are coming at him from the left, it's going to be seen as, dismissive or whatever. And then when you get the French thing involved with someone like her, and she has the ability to do that because she's also French, so she's able to be on this strange line where to be conservative on some points and then to also be liberal on others, which makes her dangerous to politicians, which is probably why she was able to get into those types of spats with Pierre Trudeau. But that's the thing about how this works, is it's like there's a kayfabe to it, right? You can position yourself as a more left of center liberal if you have a more conservative press, right?
Yeah, keep asking the questions. I agree. Okay, let's take